that the top sprinters' teams are using Tadej Pogacar's image to generate their own content, that the Slovenian's main rivals are singing his praises on their social networks, and even that Poggy's nemesis is thankfully back training on his Cervelo bike at almost the same time, only indicates that the Saunier Duval rider is, by far, the biggest media phenomenon ever created in cycling, at least since a cancer survivor took the golden opportunity and ascended to the top of the sport, transcending his image in the process to become a brand. Precisely since Lance Armstrong participated in the most doped Giro d'Italia in history in 2009, never has the Corsa Rosa had such transcendence both inside and outside the Italian borders, despite the fact that great cycling and media champions like Alberto Contretrol, Pierre Baguette, the White Kenyan, or even riders loved by their fellow citizens like Tramadolito Quintana have participated and conquered their goals in the Italian Grand Tour. However, in the 2024 edition, without any great Italian cyclists willing to fight for the final victory, the streets are filled with fans willing to watch the competition. And we're not talking just about areas with a great cycling tradition such as Veneto or Tuscany, but also about the always lordly millionaires of Piedmont, who have taken to the roads to venerate their hero in pink cycling shorts. A hero they cheer and love as if he were a deity, and who has come to resurrect a dead race, at least judging by recent editions, where a simple attack in the mountains was enough to kill the pink jersey and the popular spiral-shaped trophy. But why is Poggy so well loved in Italy, and why is his slender figure moving millions of euros in the Transalpine country? Reason one, of course, the main reason why Urska Zigard's boyfriend is so beloved, is because bib number 191's own personality shines through in the Giro. In the first stage, despite a team tactic too ambitious for the available resources, he attacked on the hill near the finish, moving watts similar to those of great wall-climbing monsters of the past. The next day, he overcame a mechanical breakdown and crash to win in Europa, with the best ascent in history after the 1999 drug exhibition. But if that wasn't enough, dressed in pink and without any real reason to do so, on the third day he came close to winning an inconsequential flat stage with an insane attack, one which carried along the alcoholic Welshman with his tongue hanging out, until Poggy was caught just a few metres from the finish line. At the finish, he declared that he'd done it to make up for the hours of riding that the peloton had taken, at a mere training pace, and from anyone else this could have been another embarrassment to the sport. But it's Poggy, and Poggy honours his profession and honours the public who will come to see him. People know that even though he doesn't need to, even though it may appear to be absurd, Poggy is going to do something that unsettles the rest of the brown and staid and mediocre pedalers. A little bit of magic that they would pay for a GCN or Discovery subscription for just a hint of that positive energy in every episode. And that's something that very few sportsmen have achieved throughout history. Reason 2. Pogacar respects the European cycling tradition much more than many people think. Despite having achieved triumphs in exotic destinations like California or the United Arab Emirates, he loves the classic cycling calendar. We could see it with his dedication to win the Tour of Flanders. And we can see it where he goes to big competitions of the calendar like the World Championships or Liège, or the big one-week tours at World Tour level. And he especially loves the Italian calendar, something that should not surprise us since the base of UAE Team Emirates is still the Italian-Spanish mix that formed the Lampre team before the big bills and gold ingots of the multimillionaire Arab sheiks appeared. We've seen how he's fought and tried to conquer Milano-San Remo on several occasions. And Poggy has also managed to win Tirreno Adriatico, putting on a show in the process. And then there was Strade Bianche, where he attacked 80 kilometres from the finish line. And of course, there are 3 Tours of Lombardy that shine in his palmares. The only thing that was missing was a participation in the Italian Grand Tour. And although Mauro Vegni has released millions of euros and made all kinds of facilities to help, Poggy compensates the organisers and fans by putting on a show, like we pointed out in reason number 1 of this video. He not only fights for the final and overall victory, he fights to make history. And although the races can be a little boring because we already know the result, In the case of the Giro of recent years, the level of panache exuded by its protagonists was enough to make anyone doze off, despite the small differences between first and second classified. Reason 3. You can be an attacking champion who puts on a show and also respects the tradition of the Italian calendar, as has happened to great monsters of the past, such as Zulla or Berillo, or the White Kenyan himself who did a Landis to win a Giro d'Italia. But you need something else. You need something that can't be bought or injected into your veins. And it's called charisma. And it's the ultimate element, one which makes you go from being respected to being revered. And Pogacar has it in spades. He has it on all sides, either because of his closeness with the press, or because of his childish character that makes him seem like one of us, or because he has accepted defeats with dignity, and also because he's a real snake charmer, like those legendary politicians of the 90s who surrounded themselves with rock stars to look even cooler. Before the Giro started, and just as he did in Strade Bianche, Poggi warned the fans of his teammate Rui Oliveira that he would attack on the 6th stage of the competition, the one with the Starato, and believe me, if he announces that he plans to make a legendary display, the public will flock to see it, to see words turned into deeds, to see what he says become real. That magic has only happened in cycling in the last 40 years with the amply-eared Mercatoni Uno rider, and sadly he was unable to enjoy it for a long period due to injuries and drug addictions. But what is the most similar case at a sporting level in Italy outside of Marco? Undoubtedly it is that of Valentino Rossi, the popular motorcyclist who loved to party on Ibizan yachts and then ride at over 200 kilometers per hour, a guy who came to popularize his work activity worldwide and who generated millions of euros in advertising revenue in the process, to such an extent that fans would only go to watch motorcycle races to see the doped-up guy who competed with broken hands and who was friends with drug addicts and corruptors of minors. Pogacar has achieved the hardest thing: the near-unanimous affection of cycling fans and the support of race organisers, with sky-high self-esteem and a sky-high salary and maximal financial gains that he will enjoy for the rest of his life. By the age of 25, Rossi had 68 career victories. Poggi has 71. Rossi brought joy to Italians and Spaniards and Japanese and French, and now Poggi does it with Slovenians and Italians and Spaniards and Americans and even Danes. Don't forget the Danes. Of course, now it is within his own hands to beat the records of audience and economic gains of the Italian, because he is already on his way to do it. And even if it is rather negative in terms of spectacle, in a world of fast and easily digestible consumption, where the likes of Mr. Beast or Nicki Minaj or Charli D'Amelio triumph in this McDonaldized society, there are figures like Poggi changing cycling. They transcend, and they make the public forget about drugs.